so sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, I sent you a text.
You did? Oh, I see that now. Oh, it's so nice when people are looking out for you.
Hello, John.
Hello.
And right on cue comes Mr. Greaves.
Oh. Oh. That's M-I-S-T-A-H.
Mr.
It is 2:01. I'm going to give Linda just a moment, and then I think we'll push on because I think that might be the right thing to do.
Hello, Mr. Greaves. How are you, sir?
Darden, there you are. Right. If it wasn't for these infernal calls, I'd sign your damn paper. So I'm going to do it 1 minute after this ends. I
Appreciate that, sir.
I'm going from one to the other to the next, etc. since very early this morning. And unfortunately, gathering things to do at each one, like some kind of fruit harvest or something.
Snowball.
Yeah.
I got to tell you what I love about it, though, is when I say hello to somebody, they actually tell me what they owe me. I don't even have to say it to them. They just tell me what they're going to do next. That's what you have when you deal with people that have accountability and ethics, and it's a brilliant thing.
There's a lady on the call, otherwise you get a reply to that loading.
Now there's two ladies, so we really want to reply, John.
Go ahead, we're recording, John. Go for it.
I think one of the ladies is accustomed to the reply I wanted to provide.
Bring it on.
Wisconsin upbringing. Next, what are we doing? Hello, everybody.
Hello, we are officially starting. So with that, at 2:02, I'm going to call the meeting to order. And I will just make attention to my shirt, which sort of looks like the DFMDC utility logo, but not quite, because my shirt still is lost in the mail. It's the best I could do, guys.
We're working on that, Denise. I've been pushing David, trying to get him to be able to use his negotiation strength with his former vendor to be able to deliver yours and Linda's customized shirts. John, I actually have yours. I just need an address to send it to.
You'll have it, sir, anytime at all, but it'll be along. Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, guys. So in interest of time, I'm going to do a roll call, and then we do have a quorum to get started. So we have Linda, for the purposes of the records, we're at Linda Goetze, John Greaves, Michael Darden, Jeff Herle, Denise McCurdy. We have a quorum, so we are going to go ahead and proceed. I'm going to share the deck. Everyone should see this now. If you do not, let me know. Okay.
You're sharing.
We're sharing. All right. So purposes of the meeting, this is the structure of how we're going to run the steering committee. John, you have seen this. This is from the Thomas Cox IEEE. I just think it's very appropriate. So you weren't at the last meeting, so we're going to catch up here. But we're going to follow Robert's Rules of Orders, and then just the typical opening, build safety, and then accountability and actions. Antitrust policy, again, it is going to be just good business practice, as you know, to always put up our antitrust policy. This is in the deck. You guys will also have a copy of that. Okay, agenda. So this is the agenda. We've already done the call to order roll call. I would like everyone to just take a minute to look at the agenda, and then I will ask for a motion to approve.
So made.
Second.
Seconded.
That's perfect, because I can't interact with legally binding agreements today.
It's so
I want everybody to know that. I signed a paper saying I wouldn't, so.
It's so funny you should say this, because in my Insights committee meeting yesterday, not for the first time, and everybody on this group may actually take this on board because of what's likely to happen. although GS1 belonged to Insights and to ISO and so on, and even act as a secretariat to SC31, they are and cannot vote. Their articles and charter forbid it. So for all Neil Aishleman yesterday could comment on the work, he had to abstain when it came to the vote.
Interesting. That is actually really, really good to know and relevant. When we
Yes,
have,
exactly.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. You're going to see why that's
Relevant to some conversation we had earlier regarding
This
the
morning.
same.
Indeed, it was. Yep. Yep.
There you go. They're not allowed by charter to participate or extend any support motion, blah, blah, blah. There's a whole bloody chapter on it in their code.
Well, that certainly answers a question, and we're going to get to that in a minute.
It's why incidentally, when you asked for participants, Denise, some weeks ago in that formation meeting, and the GS1 person was there, they indicated they had to go back to home, as it were, to get an involvement level. And they got the involvement, but they cannot participate. Do you follow what I mean?
I do.
There you go.
I do.
Completely.
Yep.
Right, press on. Sorry.
Okay. So I'd like to review and then get a motion to approve the minutes. Everyone does have these, but what I'm going to do is just share them quickly. So I'm going to do a stop share, new share. Give me 2 minutes to turn this over. Okay, I'm now sharing the meeting minutes from last week. We did a call to order. We did a roll call. I had approval of the agenda with one minor modification from Linda, which I don't think she'll be making today. We discussed the criteria and the timing for the steering committee. We did not have enough information to take a vote. We will discuss it today. We discussed the structure of the governance documents, which is the membership agreement, will be sort of like the master services agreement. We did get approval to move forward with that structure. We stood up the utilization working group. Jeff's going to give us some status on that. And we discussed new business. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
In a second.
It cannot be me. I was not there.
And Linda can't. So Michael?
Michael?
Yeah, I'll second the minutes.
Okay, excellent. All right, now we're going to move into the officers' reports. So this is going to be now somewhat relevant. This is just the meeting minutes that we just went through. First of all, guys, some really good progress, and I wanted to share this. So phase one, and this is what we discussed several weeks ago, was the governance pre-planning and then 3 governance meetings. We are complete with phase one. It is now August. We have moved into phase 2. So very happy to share the progress. And as Michael reminded me earlier, let's just take a moment to say, thank you to the team and well done, because we're moving forward.
Thank you.
Yay.
Nice job, everybody.
Yay.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Hey.
Congratulations.
All right, go ahead.
No, I'm excited because moving into phase 2, I think, isn't that where the bars and the restaurants reopen?
It is, but you still have to maintain social distancing, John. So you're not going to get all your needs met.
And don't forget.
And Timothy says, don't forget the masks. That's right.
Yes. Thanks, Tim. Keep
We
going.
can
Denise.
We can only hope, really.
In amongst my humor, my sincere congratulations to the parties that have brought it this far.
Oh, thank you. It's been a
Thank you,
wonderful
sir.
effort. So guys, this is a conversation we do need to have. So last week we had proposed a governing body sort of structure, right? A steering committee, working groups, and then these report into the board of directors of DFM Data Core. There's nothing actually earth-shattering about this. This is pretty standard. You have working groups that sort of roll into the steering committee that rolls into the corporate board of directors. Last week, we had discussed having just one class of membership, and that would be a general membership. However, upon reflection and some further discussion, we felt like it was necessary to have another class of membership, and that's in red. So I'm at the class of members here, associate membership. And this is in red because this is new. We do believe that we will need an associate membership that have different voting rights and is not actually going to be paying the $100,000 stockholder agreement fee. So I'll just pause there for a second. Linda, I know this is a little different than what we presented last week, but we really do feel like this is more inclusive to what we actually need.
What is an associate member?
Good question. So an associate member is a member who has different voting rights, and we'll get to that in a minute, and is not and signs a associate membership agreement, does not submit $100,000 for the initiation shareholder unit of stock.
The short answer, John, is that they're not a DFM member.
Understood, but who are they? Is this the American Trucking Association or what?
It is just, it's not an association per se. It's just
Yeah, but exemplars of who would fit into that associate member category.
Bida or Linda or John, anyone who's not a DFM member or a DFMDC employee.
An academic?
An academic, an NGO.
Okay.
Excellent. Approved. Totally agree.
Linda, any thoughts or comments on that? Because I know we've added this.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why the word associate was chosen.
It was meant to represent a non-DFM, and they do have different voting, but if that's problematic, we just need something to distinguish DFM member and someone that's a non-DFM member. I don't know that.
And I think what we were thinking, Linda, is the fact that they're associated with the industry or associated with our efforts, but they're connected to it. They're right next to it, but they don't necessarily have, they're not getting direct benefit from their membership per se. They're not signing an agreement to buy equity because they're doing transactions through this and wanting to have the data from it.
But they have a signed associate membership agreement. So what does that entail? Do you have an exemplar of that?
We do not. We have a DFM membership agreement, and then the associate membership agreement is going to be a cut down version of that, basically.
Okay.
And we don't have a version of that yet because, frankly, while we were going through how the votes would take place with our objective of making the DFMs have a 6-to-5 ratio on the board, there was some discussion about who would be allowed to vote when we had issues that were coming up, and the intention of having a 6-to-5 balance to the DFMs in that board became challenging when we had members that couldn't vote from the 5 side.
Yeah.
And it made it that you now had a 6-to-2 vote, and that's a 3-to-1 ratio, and that's improper balance. So we had to talk about how to be able to make it so that the users could be in a classification that they weren't ones that had to pay the fee. They didn't buy the shares. They didn't get a license to the patented invention, and they're still here.
Right.
But they're here because we invited them, because we want their expertise, because they have understanding and benefit to the organization.
And I see that as a supportive member, and I'm kind of looking at DFMDC support staff, and I was mentioned in the list as an associate member, but I'm also DFMDC support staff.
I was going to correct that also, because you are currently in this seat here representing DFM Data Corp as directed,
okay.
Or as it was.
But having supportive members, do you want a distinction between DFMDC support staff and what you currently have as associate member? Is there a purpose behind that distinction being there? Or can it be just supportive members? So DFM member, support member.
I don't, I'm also searching in my lexicon for an alternative to associate. Support is not good because it again, the challenge here is not to make DFM look like one of these structured outcomes where there's preferred voting, not preferred voting, and you suddenly realize that two people can actually throw out the other six overnight. So we do need the structure as Michael explained it. That's good. That's making it fair and equitable, as one might say. We certainly want these people to participate, contribute, contribute not just knowledge, but if users join, if suddenly you get someone come in from, say, General Motors, but they are an associate member, and as such, they would want to come in and contribute things like saying, oh, could you put a category in for return stillage loads or something like this, or a category for leave at El Paso, but it's really going to Mexico type loads, and so on and so on. So you want those people to help the business, and an academic like Dan Conway from Arkansas might come in and as a Walmart person and talk about load matching and etc. So you see, we do need them, but support. I had to wear one at one time because my knee blew. But, and that's about as far as I would go with that word.
It enhanced your functionality though, John, didn't it?
Actually, no.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yes. I got rid of the bloody thing in about 3 days. It was dreadful. I think I pulled my shoulder trying to get it on. So that was ridiculous. I fixed the knee and broke my shoulder. Never mind.
I'm not touching that one with a 10-foot pole.
It was the 10-foot pole that caused the original problem. Going on to this word, we do need a category. There's no question about it, people. But we need a category that's got a feel-good, sound-good naming structure to it. Something like a fellow, and a DFC fellow. Although, of course, these days that's gender specific, so that won't work.
So, Denise, if I could chime in for just 1 second, it might help a little bit if next to class of members, if we identified that there are 6 DFM members, like in paren next to it, and 3 associate members and 2 DFM support staff members. And I want to just comment on the DFM support staff members. The way that we've written this initially up is that DFM gets to place 2 participants on here, but they're designees of the board. So if there was a need to be able to replace somebody or swap somebody or invite somebody as an associate member or as a DFM support staff member, then the capability is to do that within the two seats that we have.
Yes.
But so, the naming of the associate member, we don't have anything else besides this piece that is here and in the 3rd section of here that references that associate membership, because we literally don't have the document for it. It's a really slimmed down version of what the member agreement would look like for the DFM member. So all of our legal focus has been working on the DFM member agreement, and as we're doing that, we're noting and identifying the fact that there is another associate member or fellow or whatever we want to be able to name this classification of membership, and I'm wide open to different names that are here. This was just part of a working discussion that came up.
Contributing.
So I like that. That's good.
I mean, you want people that have something to bring to the table to support the efforts of
I like that. I like contributing member. It's positive for the person. it's positive for us, and it's got clarity of purpose.
Positive expectation. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, third paragraph down, first bullet, right-hand side is the other spot where it is.
So do they need to sign something, like a separate
Yes.
membership
Yes.
agreement?
Anyone entering within the inner echelons of anything have to sign something. So they should sign a contributing member agreement, right? So not a contributing membership, but a contributing member agreement. Because the contributing member agreement basically says, as a contributing member, you do X, Y, and Z, and you don't get A, B, and C. And
Right.
that should boil it in a sentence, in 2 paragraphs. Sign here, date it, put your corporate stamp or your individual whatever company EID or whatever, something that authenticates that it was you, and file it, and we're done.
Right. Okay.
Including NDA and antitrust
Oh,
statements.
of course.
Of course.
Both acknowledged as received in any instance. Mhm.
Right. Okay. I like that.
Yeah, so we've got the third bullet down where you highlighted there, and then in the last section at the bottom, the first bullet there also references the associate member.
Yep. Okay. I like that.
Clickety boo, contributing member.
Yeah.
Love it. There you go.
That's how I can be a contributing member without being a voting member, because, you know, I signed today that I wouldn't participate in any voting, but I can still contribute, right?
Yes.
It's a good
Yes, you can.
feeling.
Yes, you can. Sooner the better, frankly.
I like that. I'll make those changes, and I'll make that the contributing member agreement will be as suggested. I've been taking notes and we're recording as well. And by the way, the time frame to have these complete is 1 week from today. So the plan is to have those in front of you at the next steering committee.
Super.
Okay, moving on.
Which,
Again,
by the way, may need to be a longer meeting.
yeah, that's a good point.
Okay.
Yeah, but
And
if
am
we're
I
gonna
going to,
go,
Yeah.
sorry.
sorry, am I going to be coming in as a DFMDC support staff or as a contributing member?
Contributing member. Contributing member, the DFM support staff slots should be maintained in order that the board may rotate them by calling out a particular requirement from a support staff to attend to explain anything that the board may want, or a permanent fixture appointed by the president of DFM, being a person who always comes because she can rely on him, her, and so on. So no, you should actually come as a contributor, Linda Goetze, because the purpose of you is to contribute. Therefore, end of
So,
discussion.
Mr. Greaves, if I may just chime in for 1 second, that may tilt your angle the other way. Ms. Goetze is the recording secretary for DFM Data Corp. And as such, my thought was that she and Jeff would be the DFM Data Corp appointed representatives, because Linda would need to be able to have knowledge of all of the elements in this meeting in order to be able to execute the minutes of the corporate minutes. So she's truly acting in behalf of the secretary of the corporation as the person that I have designated. So my thought was that you were frankly one of the 3 contributing members, with Linda and Jeff being the DFM data support staff that's currently in place. And there's 2 contributing members still to add before we go to add the 6 DFM members.
Right. So it doesn't tilt me at all, because you just did what I just said. As the current honcho, Pepe of DFM, you just nominated the 2 people.
Yep.
So,
No,
yep.
that works.
Yep.
That does work.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, these days when you actually run a company, Darden, you could be quite positive. It's going to
Thank you, sir. I'll work on that.
Good.
I'm just going to go with El Jefe from now on. I love it.
Yeah.
Yes. I give the same name to the guy that mows my lawn because he only speaks Spanish.
That's respect.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so moving forward, so criteria for membership, and this is just in general, we sort of went over this, but for the DFM member, these are documents they need to sign. MOU, the DFM membership agreement we just talked about, you'll see it next week. The shareholder agreement that says DFM member shareholder agreement. It doesn't yet, but it will. And then the license agreement. The license agreement includes the IPR language. They will also be furnished with a copy of the DFM Data Core bylaws. And then for the contributing member, we just discussed what that needs to look like. Thank you for that. And we are also suggesting that, recommending that both types of members go through a qualification process. The DFM member qualification process is further along than the contributing. We have to work on that this week coming up. But we'll share that with you. And then finally, the DFM support staff is just employed or contracted with DFM Data Core, which of course would be Jeff or someone else. The criteria for the steering committee. They have to meet the standards of conduct for managers. That is in the membership agreements. You'll see that. That's just standard stuff. They have to behave. They have to, participate. They can't be absent all the time. If they do any of those things, then it's, Michael can always remove for cause or not cause, but, it's very clear about what they need to do. Also, and this is new because it's in red, active work group participation for at least 3 months and a non-absentia voting record. So we had a discussion last week about, what makes you viable to be voted on the steering committee island? What is it that you have to do to sort of prove yourself? Well, this is a suggestion that they have to participate in a working group for at least 3 months and then be an active voting member. I'll pause there.
Yeah, skin in the game, saying we're invested in participating. And
the intent is to have working group meetings every week. So lots of opportunity to participate.
But if it's a non-absentia voting record, that means they have to go 3 months where they're all 4 to 5 weeks they have participated. So we're looking at least, 12 to 15 voting instances. Is that accurate?
Well,
There's a little bit of discussion around this that's taken place. We're actually building the technology that will enable the steering committee to be able to do their votes, as well as the DFM members to be able to do their votes from their governance panel on their access portal.
Mm-hmm.
We had a discussion earlier this morning about the way that these ideas are going to, the way that we envision these ideas to come is that a DFM corporation will have a function on their login screen where they can basically have a voice, and we're referring to it as my voice, where the DFM can make a suggestion or a input as an idea that goes to the working group, and the working group can then identify if that is one issue or many issues that either are not going to be addressed or with reason, or that have been addressed by the working group and then raised to the steering committee for action, for review and action. And the raising it to the steering committee is actually done through the system, so that when the idea comes into Jeff can take that idea and produce numerous issues, and those issues will either have a vote from the working group to be able to go to the steering committee, or a reason code of why it shouldn't go to the steering committee now, and it would sit in a whip or either way the steering committee gets them with the recommendation of what the working group is.
Right.
But
once they come into my queue, I'll be reviewing and vetting them as well. And there may be some work against it to better understand the business requirement, but all of that will be done at the working group level.
I actually have that here in this proposed member voice flow. If you guys need to see this, if this makes more sense to you. So this is.
I love the concept of having a voice. I think that's fantastic. I'm sure David had a hand in that, just the messaging on how people can feel validated in their
We
communication.
were actually
and contribute.
considering it as the potential name for the product this morning for the DFMs to call it.
Yeah.
My voice.
Yeah, I love it.
Member voice. Yeah, is sort of what we're thinking.
Yeah, if it's member voice and then the tab they click on says my voice, that'd be interesting to.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, no, I love it. The messaging around it is so positive and so empowering.
Okay, guys, so getting back to the slide then, have we had enough time? And I don't want to put anyone on the spot if you feel like you just need to think about it, but the criteria for the steering committee, that which is in red, 3 months. In order to be included as a member of a steering committee, you have to have active work group participation for at least 3 months and a solid voting record. Do you feel comfortable putting that to a vote?
If solid is defined, sorry.
I was just following up on your idea, Linda. Does that need to be every single one of the weeks, they voted on without abstention?
Yeah, I was thinking the same, that maybe we could do something like greater than 70% of the votes, or, I mean, there's an opportunity for people to say, I don't want to vote on that too. They have the option to abstain, and we don't want to say that they can't do that in order to be able to qualify here. So, we could identify a number, I think maybe 70% or 80% of the preceding votes. But again, that percentage now comes to the point of where Jeff has to be tabulating what they voted for and who voted in the working group. And as I had mentioned to the team this morning, I have built into the system the steering committee to get the ideas up from Jeff, but I have not yet built into the system the ability for a working group member to be able to vote on those issues. I could, I just haven't done it yet. So if that's what we're saying we need to have done, is that the idea from a DFM coming up to the working group where they break it down into 4 issues, and each of those 4 issues gets voted on by the working group to be able to say this goes up to the steering committee or goes to the in work in process file or the not right now file. We need to have accountability for that if we're wanting to be able to use that accountability for the qualification. And I'm okay with adding it to the scope. I just currently want to disclose that I don't currently have it in the scope of the tech team. But if we think that it's appropriate, I have no issue with being able to add a user criteria that identifies that they're a member of the working group.
And let me just throw one additional wrinkle to that. The way this is written, it's to be included in the steering committee, it's either the DFM member or the contributing member. So that would be Linda and John. Now we might not require Linda or John to be an active work group member as in addition to a steering committee. So this might really just be not the contributing members, but the DFM members.
DFM.
Which I think
that's who you want to incentivize engagement in the working groups from. And I mean, I think for me personally, tagging into working groups on a maybe once a month or twice a month basis would be appropriate to be able to be more informed to contribute. It's just not something that, I mean, obviously we're already appointed to a certain extent. This is a moot point for now, but yeah.
So let me just address that point, because Denise and I had to get some clarity on this morning. I was not 100% sure of how she had been thinking about this, but there's a breaking up of the initial steering committee, the initial steering element, and again, this is DFM Data Corp has the ability to be able to place 2 slots and change those 2 designees whenever it chooses to be able to do so for the benefit of what the organization is. But the other users that after we have a complement of 5, or go from 3 to 5, there's a movement to be able to jump. Do you have a slide for this one? I think, yeah. So there's an initial 3 members that we are right now, but what we're thinking is that there's no reason to bring any DFMs into the 3 because we don't have a full complement of what our organizing members are that are truly looking at it from an organizational perspective. And then we would need to have these DFMs be members for some period of time, that they were in good standing participating in a working group for a minimum of 90 days before they would even have time to be able to potentially become one of those full pool members.
Mm-hmm.
So we really want to scale this so that there's, I think, and again, I'm this open for discussion. We've just had quite a bit of it already. I think going from the initial 3 that are appointed to the 5 is assuming that the 2 DFM Data Corp members would likely stay the same, but if they didn't, it wouldn't be terribly relevant. But the contributing member agreements, which we didn't have at the beginning, will now have.
Mm-hmm.
So going from 3 members up to 5 members means that there is truly an ask of, do you want to be a member, as opposed to, thank you for being appointed a member. And that was just described to me this morning from Denise's work as being disbanding the original steering committee that was appointed. But disbanding it, because it's 3, doesn't mean that we have to terminate everybody's role there. It's just a choice of whether DFM Data Corp wants to be able to put different people in those positions, but the other 3 contributing members would be related to, you know, what the governance is for participating in the contributing member agreement, which right now we don't have one for John to even sign, right? So for John to be sitting in that seat is because of the fact that we stood up the initial 3 as an appointed. But when we get to 5 is where we get a chance to be able to make it so that we have rules for voting and for bringing these full 5 in as the foundational pillars, so that we're ready to bring in the other 6 all at the same time. 3 of them for 1-year pools and 3 of them for 2-year pools. Initial pools. And then after that, it would be likely 2-year terms that we'd then have 3 of them rolling off every year.
Mm-hmm.
So you see the phasing, right? We're here. We haven't through the end of December, which is going to go by fast, right? And then, yeah, and these months, by the way, were in the original deck with the governance advisors. So now we're at 5, and we've got 2, and then the 3 independent. And this is what Michael was just referring to. At this point, we have a document for people to sign. We'll have it long before then, but this would kick off in January at the latest. And then we go to full pool, and you see the numbers. We've already talked about this. None of this is new. This is all the same. When does this occur? It either occurs in August of 2021, so a year from now, or after the 40th DFM member joins, or at the discretion of the DFMDC Board of Directors. And I'm really keeping it somewhat, I'm
Flexible.
not, yeah, flexible, because I don't want to paint Michael in a corner, because we just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, the sales and operations team is expecting that we can bring on 10 a month. That's the anticipated flow of what could happen. So that'd be 4 months for being able to bring on the first 40. You know, the next 100 really should be much smoother than that, because our systems and processes will have been worked out with the first 40 pretty effectively.
So those first 3 that are added to the 5 members would be able to be from that original 40, and they would have had the 3 months to engage before
so no, they would not. When we go from 3 to 5, there's no DFMs in there at all.
Okay, it's just an invitation.
When we go to 5 to 11 is when they all get an invitation and say, you 40 companies have been involved for these past 90 days, and if you would like to have board representation or be a potential candidate for board representation, then throw your name in the hat here.
So independent is synchronous with the contributing member.
It should be changed, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So yeah, exactly. So the 2 board, these are the DFMDC designees, right? The 2 permanent seats. We've already talked about this. And then these are the elected. It's elected or invited members. I have to keep that language consistent. And these are the 3 seats, conditionally 2 independent standard bodies. And this is conditionally, and an academic or governing body organization. We'll get to the term limits in a minute, but that's to answer your question, Linda. Yeah. It's independent, and it really is this. It's the same as saying elected members. Does that make sense?
But elected by the DFM Board of Directors.
Invited by the DFM.
Invited, right.
Yep. I'll keep
Invited, not appointed.
That's it. That's exactly.
I serve at the pleasure of.
You got exactly where we got to earlier today. It's invited as opposed to assigned or designated.
Or appointed.
Yeah.
At that point, it's an agreement. You're helping the company. The company is requesting and getting assistance from your expertise.
So the question was, should we be required as contributing members to have a 70% active voting record in a working group? Is that the point that we're going back to address?
Yeah, because I'd like, if people are comfortable with making adopting this language, then I can include it in the membership agreement and the contributing member agreement. I don't think we need to have, personally, I don't think contributing members are required to have active work group participation. If you're a contributing member, you're already participating, you're on the steering committee. Now you can come to a working group, anyone can, but you're not required to.
Right.
And potentially at the working group level, we just do optional invites. Pop in as you see fit.
Yeah, and that actually would be a wonderful convenience to have, from your organizational standpoint, the awareness of what working groups would be best to have some of the contributing members participate in, so that they have an awareness of what the DFMs are concerned about or communicating in those working groups, and then have that, knowledge to bring forward into the steering committee and the board of directors conversations. So.
Yeah, I anticipate that the working group chairs, which right now is Jeff, will be present at the steering committee and will be part of doing their officer reports.
Okay.
And Jeff is in fact invited. If you look at the working group charter, he is has a standing invite to the steering committee.
And there may be some specific subject matter expertise that the contributing member could bring anyway. So they may get a, beyond just the optional invite, a request to participate.
Mm-hmm. And that actually should be probably written into the signed contributing member agreement, that they're willing to participate in X number of invited, because you don't want someone committing to do it that doesn't have the availability to at least participate on a nominal basis in that type of activity.
So that was contributing members are willing to participate in, was it X number of working groups?
Oh, I said X because I don't know what you would want to put there. But.
Well, what we were just basically saying is that the working groups are going to have a meeting once a week, right? So if we went for what we have described as being 90 days or 3 months, then we would have, 13 weeks? So if we were looking for somebody to do 70% of 13 weeks or 80% of 13 weeks, you'd be looking for 10 out of 13 votes or 9 out of 13 votes, somewhere in there.
This is the contributing member.
Contributing members. So I think that the language has to be fairly clear that the contributing members are invited to attend working groups or required to attend working groups.
Yeah, we originally had talked about it being, just an optional invite so they could participate when they wanted to, but potentially they have some subject matter expertise when it would be helpful within the working group to have them attend. And so something just with a little more teeth to it, so they participate, as required.
Yeah, and at the same time, you don't want them to feel so tied that they're like, you know what, there's no way I can fulfill this, so I just can't participate.
That's my
So that's a delicate balance to find for sure, because they're not having the same financial
benefit,
value add as the DFM members get in pushing their independent agendas into the overall marketplace. So.
Exactly. Do you need time before, which is perfectly fine, but do you need time before you feel like you can vote on the red bullet, which is active work group participation for at least 3 months. So again, this is criteria for inclusion to the steering committee. Or are you comfortable with this as it's written? And then it will get recorded into the DFM membership agreement. Anyone not comfortable with the?
I'm just looking at the wording. Does this include contributing members or strictly DFM members?
DFM members, because I think the
Okay.
conversation we just had was, I can certainly put language in.
Well, you have either and, not either or. I'm not even sure why the either is there.
It's not, it shouldn't be there because I
Okay.
took out the contributing member. The membership agreement and meets
You have an extra space after completes.
and yeah. So what I'm suggesting here is they complete the DFM membership agreement and meets the standard code of conduct and is an active does that make sense?
No, well, with your construction, you would want to take those ands out, the first and out of the smaller bullet and make the meets be lowercase. I mean, just because it's a structure, or put the and in both of the beginnings, however you choose to do it, but.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And meets and is an active work group. I'll clean it up, but
Yeah, I would take it. Yeah.
Is an active work group participant.
yeah. And demonstrates. I know John is, with his English, is probably turning over like.
No, I'm fine. You see, just so that we know that in case one gets any laments about this, in IEEE, and in IEEE as an individual, you must attend 2 consecutive meetings to maintain your voting rights. And if you miss 2, you lose them, consecutive. In addition to that, in ISO, a country, of course, because ISO is a country structure, a country must also vote every time there is a call for votes. Now, some of them, all call for votes are virtual, so you don't have to be at the board meeting, but you understand what I'm saying. There is an obligation goes with being this person.
Right.
Yeah.
An obligation and a consequence, right, John? I mean, that sounds really what you're talking about here is the fact that there's an accountability to it. If you don't do it 2 times, then you've lost your right to be able to vote in the next meeting.
Correct.
Okay, and what we're saying is they have to be an active work group participant for at least 3 months and demonstrate a participative voting record, which means more than 70% votes on record. On record
Yes,
is
ma'am.
the command.
I'll do nice.
That gives you an indication that they're going to be able to participate at a similar or even higher level if they're actually voted in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can we make the red black?
Can we make the red black? Are you comfortable? Is anyone not comfortable with striking a vote?
I'm comfortable, but I can't participate.
We still have a quorum.
So do I move to approve?
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is that,
Second.
all right, so I got Jeff was the first and then John was the second. Okay, this is black, which means this is going to go into the membership agreement. And that means you're going to see it in a document next week.
You can also do the black at the top for the class of members as well.
Yep. Excellent. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, and I think the slide right before this, Denise, I think Linda was referring to the fact that the word independent was on here.
This one or the other one?
I think it was the other way.
This one.
On the third in the third block.
Yep, in the middle block and in the third block, and the synonymousness of independent and the contributing is what we're trying to be able to get to here. So we should just change it to contributing here, I believe.
Yep. Yeah.
I guess it's actually all 3 blocks.
That's correct, it is.
It is. Thanks, guys. It absolutely should be consistent.
And the only other thing that I saw was where you had previously changed it on, I think the slide before this, it was a DFM Data Corp member and then, or membership, and then you had afterwards contributing member. And you had initially written contributing membership, and John selected that you took the ship off, but I think the contributing member is still there. Or
Is it right here? Contributing member, for contributing member, assigned contributing member ship agreement? Is that the concern?
No, it's actually the third head bullet down that says criteria for steering committee, complete the DFM membership agreement. We had previously in that line there, we had both, right? It was DFM member agreement and, or membership agreement and contributing agreement, but it didn't, or contributing member agreement, but it didn't say membership was just had a ship on it where I didn't think the ship was necessary, but in rereading it, it's okay. I think it fits now that we've taken the other one that was removed.
I know where you're going, Michael, but in fact, in this particular context, the wording is correct.
Yeah, I think it is. Yes, sir. I apologize.
In the greater picture, right? So off we go.
I love that we have so many people with an eye for detail. This is a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. It truly is. It is really helpful.
It's a pain and it's not at all helpful. And I've got committees full of people like this, but on this particular occasion, it's most essential. Therefore, you bite your tongue, grind your teeth, and press on. Go ahead, Denise.
I'm truly appreciative. I mean, maybe there's something wrong with me. But, okay, so now this is getting into, I know that I will now have some language I need to change, but this was a conversation we had earlier, and it was, so what does an 11-person steering committee composition in terms, what does that look like? We've already gone over this. What we haven't really gone over is the terms. So this is
so straight away, you can strike the words with no term limits.
So these are the board of member designees, right? So this is Michael gets to pick 2 people.
Understood, but term
2
limits.
permanent seats.
No, 2 seats, and there are term limits because you need, and Denise, I think you know this, and I'm probably speaking prematurely, right? What if the designee, right, becomes a liability, becomes, you know, what if your designee turns out to be a Jeffrey Epstein, right, and has got to be removed? What you've done there with these words is 2 permanent seats with no term limits. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for this person to do? Hang themselves in a police cell?
Yeah, I agree, because this makes it look like the Supreme Court designations.
Thank you.
They have to, it has to be at the will of the DFM board to remove or maintain them.
Yeah.
At the discretion of the board.
Yes. Yeah.
Is that better?
So 2 permanent seats designated at the discretion of, and it can be designated at any time for any, I mean, it is.
Yeah. Designated at the discretion of the board, and take out the word designees following board of directors. There you go. Board of directors, 2 permanent seats designated at the discretion of the board, meaning the board will act responsibly and remove.
So the board, the DFMDC board, because that's very important to designate.
Let's, that's lovely. Yes, well, that's it. Yes. Period after board. And that's that one tidied up.
And then
now
there's going to be contributing members here.
Yes, Board of Directors contributing members. No, it's contributing members.
Yeah, you're right.
It's not the Board of Directors, it's the contributing members. Okay, so we got rid of him, and we've got 3 seats, conditionally 2 independent standards bodies and 1 academic or governing body organization. Actually, you should just put a period after 3 seats
Okay.
and delete what they should be conditioned upon.
Yeah.
I understand.
Because that would be the contributing members may decide that, you know, Dr. Hancock, who is an expert in marine freight uplift at the Port of Jacksonville, would be useful to have on it for a while, and he might decide to be on it for a while. Would be a shame if you've got some dummy somewhere who isn't doing sod all like a lemon.
Yeah, you're right.
This lacks the idea of them being invited by the board of directors, the DFMDC board of directors.
Right, because the 2 permanent seats are designated. The 3 seats are by invitation of.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's correct. Hey, if you're going to get sharp on this, you know what?
What?
There we go. These are 1-year terms with no term limits. These are 1-year terms.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is not
Well, these are 1-year terms that can be
Renewed.
Oh, yeah.
sequential or.
That was
Yeah.
the point.
That was
Yeah,
the
was-
intention, but it
That can be that may be extended.
and there they are. You've already said it,
Yeah.
right? At the discretion. There you go. Right.
Yep.
Now here we go. Here's the fun. 6 seats with staggered 2-year terms. Explain staggered.
it's only drunk people that can participate with.
Oh,
So
hell, well, you
the-
can put me on forever then.
John, the intention was that the very first 6 companies that would be elected would be, every other one would be for 1 year or 2 years, so that in a year from now, half of the board would roll off and we'd replace 3 seats, and in a year from now, we'd replace the other 3 seats. So it would be,
Is what I was hoping you were going to say. So I'm not going to do the words right now. You just said the words, so you and Denise can write them later.
yes, sir.
Okay.
Right? That's exactly what should be happening. Rolling, right?
Yep. Yeah. The deal is the fact that the first 6 seats, 3 of them are for 1-year terms.
Yes.
3 of them are for 2-year terms.
Yes.
So I would put a period after seats, Denise,
Mm-hmm.
and then go, these seats,
Mm-hmm.
these seats, yes, these seats are configured to be rotated
Rotate is better. Yeah.
in 2-year terms.
It's already there.
That's it.
Just,
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
just,
we
you just
ju-
have
we
to take staggered out.
I know. What
Yeah,
do you
no,
want me
it's
to
good.
do?
No, you did great.
I like
It
it.
was
No, this
perfect.
is great. This is great. I'm
Would-
not gritting my teeth. I promise. This is great.
Are
Would-
the first 3 going to know that
Yes.
they're
When the electoral notice goes out for the DFM members, there will be a notation pointing out that in the initial instance, in order to create the governance, the 6 members will be elected. The first 3 with the lowest count will be the goodbyes.
with the lowest voting record, the lowest.
The lowest support.
The lowest
Okay.
vote count.
Okay, the lowest vote. Okay, I was about to say, how are you gonna designate that?
Oh, listen, you know, maybe one of them's from Chicago, so they'll have hundreds of dead people voting for them.
So are we then saying, just to clarify then, the 6 members elected, the three with the lowest voting support will have 1-year terms?
Yes, ma'am.
So yeah, the easier way to probably say it is the three with the highest votes would get 2-year terms, and the next three
There
would
you go.
each secure 1 term.
You're such a more genteel person, Darden. You really are. Yes.
Okay.
In the initial instance is what that should say.
That's yep.
Okay.
In the initial instance,
Got it.
3 with the highest voter support shall have.
I love the sonorous tones with which John puts out the.
This really should be an audio.
I love it. Shall have.
Yes. It's years of. You don't want to know. Half my life has been in standards meetings arguing whether the word is shall or should.
I still think we're going to have John do the audio reading for our book.
Oh my gosh. I absolutely agree. I love it.
I shall do it in the
All in favor?
I can't vote today.
Can I get a
but
second? Can I get a
I'll
second?
give you a
Yeah,
thumbs up.
second.
I shall do it in the style of the British playwright Alan Bennett. If you don't know who he is, I strongly recommend that you go to your YouTube following this for a piece of amusement and just write in Alan Bennett with 2 T's, and you'll get a whole host of material. And just listen to one of his soliloquies. He has a slight Yorkshire accent. He's very, very famous. He appears on BBC television.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've listened to him before.
So we've made good progress. Just want to share with everybody it is 3:02. I'm happy to continue on from here to be able to cover the next couple of slides that are here. I just wanted to thank everybody for their extra time on dedicating to the project.
If we can be ever so quick, I need to be off at the 1:15.
Okay, let's move
That
forward.
works for me.
Guys, I think we've locked this one up pretty quickly. So can I have a motion to approve the 11-person steering committee member composition in terms of office?
Motion
So
to
moved.
approve. Yep. Seconded.
So moved. Seconded, whatever.
Okay, I got Jeff and John then, yeah?
Yep. The
Excellent.
JJ.
There you go.
AJ. All right, so this is going to be, we have 2 more slides up. We've got a 5-person and then we have an 11-person. This is actually what they get to vote on, right? So we talked about the phasing, the timing. When we have 5, we know it's going to be, and now this is contributing member seats. So we've got 2 DFMDC and 3 contributing member seats. So what do they get to vote on? Do they get to vote on the election of themselves? No, that's the DFMDC board of directors. Do they get to vote? Okay, so that's sort of consistent with what we said. Do they get to vote on the steering committee output of the working groups, i.e. Jeff is the chair of the utilization working group. There is a feature. He has vetted it. He has brought it to the steering committee. We believe that all the members should be able to, all steering committee members should be allowed to vote on those features.
Is your majority, yes, the answer is yes, but is your majority rule, you're going to have to be more specific, Denise. It's majority by percentage or majority by single vote?
Majority by single vote was the intent, John.
Good. So state.
Okay.
It's actually part of the membership agreement, John, that's what they're purchasing with their membership agreement is the one vote.
They're purchasing a vote, but if
Yes,
it came to, hey, 63% said yes, or 63 said yes, it can get naughty.
You're absolutely right. And then, so made that change. DFM member voting. Are we going to, probably not as applicable here. It's going to be applicable in the next one. So I'm going to move on.
Just a moment, Denise.
Sure.
DFM member meeting.
Yeah.
The company will require an annual meeting because they're shareholders.
Yeah.
So the company has one in the bylaws, which is the third Tuesday of the 4th month of the year, I believe.
Yes.
Is the standard date for the
for the board meeting. It just needs to be exorcised from here. It's a company issue, not a steering committee issue.
Okay, so do we need then a DFM member meeting at all?
So I think that's exactly what John's saying, and,
Yeah.
and he's really right,
No.
is the fact that by them being a membership agreement, they're going to come to the annual board meeting, to the annual shareholder meeting, because they're a shareholder.
This is the Warren Buffett model.
Yeah, this is beautiful.
You're right, you're right. Okay,
And it doesn't, it doesn't have bearing on the steering committee's decisions and voting. It'll just be
No.
a
It's a
DFM.
matter of requirement. Yep.
Yeah, this is,
Statute.
we got to have our annual shareholder meeting. You're invited.
Right.
I'm going to remove
Next.
it from here then, yeah? Because I think it's going to be confusing.
That's what I was saying, Denise. You can take it out. It's got nothing to do with these guys.
Yeah. I'm with you completely.
Corporate matter.
Okay, no, that's good. And then finally, remove.
There was some language in there that needs to be cleaned up, by the way. Independent and elects, invites instead of elects, that kind of thing. But we can do that later.
Yeah, I'll do that all offline.
Yeah. So that last one that you've got there, Denise, right? Remove, replace steering committee managers.
Yes.
That is absolutely correct. The board of directors act in that respect. That's why boards of directors remove CEOs, CFOs, or consider disputes referencing everything these days that ends in ism.
Right. All right, I'm going to remove this as well. This is, again, similar to what we just looked at, but this is now at full pool.
Correct. Next.
This is it. So we did the 5, now we're at the 11. So now we have everyone on board, and who gets to vote for the steering committee, the 6 DFM seats. What we're suggesting is the DFM members and the DFMDC, but not the contributing members.
That's correct.
That's what I thought. Okay, and then I know I have to clean this up.
That's fine.
Linda, you okay with that?
I'm not in a position to vote right now, so.
Okay.
Yes.
And then steering committee output of working groups. This is all steering committee members. So the contributing members and the DFM members and DFMC. This is if there's a feature, everyone has to vote on it.
Yes, and yes.
Okay.
Work group items, work group members only. That's correct. From the work group, it is sent up to the steering committee. The steering committee determining adoption and implementation or whatever, and it goes to the board. That's it.
And all of these are majority rule by single vote?
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'll make all those changes.
So you see a steering committee output of working groups. The steering committee's majority rule by single vote prevails. And in the work group, the majority rule by single vote prevails. And that is structured correctly. It's hierarchical, and it's got excellent governance in it, because you could have a work group hijacked by JB Hunt that wants a particular outcome. I'm sorry to pick on JB Hunt. I actually like JB Hunt, but and you know, they want something to happen that is not fair and equitable. So when it gets up to the steering committee, and so JB Hunt may influence the work group by having, you know, it's stacked with friends, as it were, and they'll get their votes. But when it gets up to the steering committee, they can't stack the steering committee because it's appointees and electors, etc. And if England is on there, or Werner or Schneider, and they go, "You're kidding me. All loads must originate within 10 miles of JB Hunt Depot." That would be the
That's
end of the
sounding
vote,
like Walmart. Come on.
Yeah, but well, I wasn't doing that, but as you mentioned it, yes. But you see what I'm saying? It's fabulous. It effectively polices, which is exactly what you know, governance is.
Yeah.
And it stops any hijacking of the electoral procedure or the company. The company should be mindful as well. It doesn't want to have things imposed on it by a gang. So
I've had to have these conversations all through here, because we want to make this so much that the DFMs are leading the effort here of what they want to be able to have, but at the same token, you can't let them hurt themselves.
That's correct.
Because they
self-inflicted wounds.
That's right. And the whole purpose of this company being here is to make sure that we don't have that. So
I'm the
Understood.
safety blanket for that. That's my job, to be able to make sure that we don't get off track with that. I don't.
Well,
If I had
I'm-
another
I'm-
purpose, it would be
Yeah.
it would be completely in alignment.
With that statement, I'm so thrilled I stayed on a little bit extra because Michael Darden just said, and that's my job. And I have wondered for ages.
What I was supposed to do in this whole thing.
And at last, I see the light. It's amazing. Thank you for that, Michael. I feel so much.
I'm so glad I was able to share that with you on this call today, and get your commitment to read the book on an audio file.
I was about to say this has to go in the book.
It's in the book. I'm thinking it is.
Absolutely. Okay, guys.
I was there the day Darden declared he had a job.
He had a job for the first time in a long time. Darden's got a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
He
guys.
doesn't.
I need a motion to approve the 5-person steering committee voting rights. I need a first and a second.
Motion to approve.
And seconded.
Okay, and then I need another motion to approve the 11-person voting rights.
Motion to approve.
And seconded.
All right,
And
we are done.
right.
Good.
And I would like a notation, please, into the minutes of this meeting. I would like a motion made and approved for the excellent work and objective meeting of this person that has addressed us today in the form of Dr. McCurdy, please. A motion of thanks from the panel. Thank you.
Second, third,
Second.
fourth,
Yes.
as many as I can for it.
Thank you very
Denise's
much.
work
All
has
in
been
it.
fabulous in this, so much appreciated.
Thank you, guys. That means a lot to me. Thank you very much.
I'm gone. Bye-bye.
Good stuff.
Bye. Thank
Bye,
you,
John.
guys.
Thank you, Dr. Blockchain.
Take care, guys. I get
All right.
the meeting minutes out.
Thanks,
Sounds
everybody.
good.
See ya.
Thanks, Denise.